Alright, peeps, so again, function notation, okay? It's a fancy way of us writing our equations. Fancy way of us writing our linear functions or our quadratic functions, whatever you want, function you want to write. Alright, so what is it? Function notation, so first blank is notation, is the way that the function is written. Right, okay, so we can write it y equals 3x minus 4. You've seen it like this. Okay, but you may not have seen it written like this. This is written in function notation. This is the same exact function. It's just written a different way. Nothing changes. Okay, it's just written two separate ways. So it's meant to give you more information in a clear and precise way. And it's going to allow us to input a number and get an output. Yes, Amina?
Does that mean that f of x replaces the y? So that means y equals f of x?
Okay, good question. No, not exactly. Okay, this is just another way of us writing y. So they don't equal, and I'm saying it like this because they don't equal each other, right? Y equals 3x minus 4. And f of x also equals 3x minus 4. So it's like us writing potato and then potato. I write the exact same way. I may say it different, but I write the exact same way. Okay, it's spelled out the same. These mean the same thing. Y and f of x mean the same thing. So these two are not really equal to each other. They're both equal to the function. Does that make sense, Amina?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so and again, we read it f of x, right? We read it f of x. And so what the function notation is going to allow us to do, it's going to allow us to input a variable, input a number for this variable, and we're going to get our output. We're going to get our f of x or our y. All right, so let's keep going. We can blank functions in function notation, right? We can write them in function notation, and all you're doing is you're going to replace the y with f of x, and what we're going to be able to do is we're going to replace the x with an input value, and we'll generate or get an output value. All right, so again, a whole lot of words just to tell you all we're doing is we're plugging in numbers. All right, so it's a lot of fluff to tell you we're just going to plug in numbers to get values. Okay, and what are these values that we're going to get? We're going to get points from our line, okay, or our function. We're going to get two coordinates, right? We're going to plug in an x value, we'll get a y value or an f of x value, which is the same thing. So I'm going to plug in an x value, I'm going to get a y value. Well, guess what? You got a point. You got a point on your function. All right, we can do that multiple times. So guess what? We're plugging in x values. All right, so Cameron, my x values, what did we talk about yesterday? What's another word for all your x values?
I'm thinking what is input or what's it?
Good.
It's input.
Okay, that's one of them. Yeah, exactly. But I'm looking for like the overall concept that we were talking about yesterday and we talked about on Friday. Starts with a D, ends with domain. Yeah, the domain. Okay, so we're going to start plugging in all our domain, and we're going to get all our range. Okay, so we'll plug in all our x values, or our input, right, Cameron? Means the same thing, and we'll get our range. Okay, so we've already kind of talked about that. All right, so evaluating functions in function notation. So we're going to jump right into our examples. Right, nothing really to learn because we know how to plug in numbers. Okay, we've already talked about how to simplify expressions and solve for x, so it's no big deal. All right, so here we go. Number one, f of x. Again, this is us writing it in function notation. So, and again, the way I say that is f of x. The way I say that is f of x. All right, so f of x equals 2x plus 5. So the difference between this and this is that x became what? A 3. So guess what? I'm going to go through this function here, 2x plus 5, and anytime I see an x, it's going to become 3. So I rewrite this function as f of 3 equals 2 times x, but now we're not writing x. We're writing the number for x, which is 3, plus 5. So easy breezy. What is 2 times 3? 2 times 3 is 6 plus 5. So then f of 3 equals 6 plus 5, 11. So then I say, write it as an ordered pair. Okay, again, an ordered pair is an x value, it's a y value. Because like I said earlier, we're going to get a point from our function. So I plugged in 3 in place of my x. So my x value is, you guessed it, 3. And then I got my output, which another word for output is your range or your y values. So your y value of your coordinate or your ordered pair is 11. Easy breezy. So Camelia, you there?
Yeah.
Hey,
Hi.
can you help me with number 2?
Sure.
All right, so go ahead.
So it'd be 1/2 and then in parentheses -6 and then in parentheses and then -2.
Okay, let's do it. What's 1/2 times a -6? I know math is hard.
I know.
Okay, well let me ask you, what's a half of 6?
3.
Yeah, okay, and then I've got one negative and I've got one positive.
Or negative.
Yeah, so I got a -3, right? All right, so g of -6 equals -3, and then what's left at the end?
-2.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll keep going. G of -6 equals, what's a -3 minus 2?
-5.
Perfect. All right, so Camilla, help me out. What's the ordered pair?
-5 and 1/2.
Okay, so again, this x,
-6, -5.
perfect. Yes, because again, we're replacing the x with the number, right? So we're plugging in 3 in place of x. That's why I wrote the 3 there. We're plugging in -6 for x. So the -6 is my x value. I'm going to get my output. I'm going to get my y value, which is the -5. Perfect. Thank you, Camilla. All right, Anna, you're on the hot seat. Anna, will you have me on number 3?
Yes. So h is -2, so it would be 2 times -2 to the second power plus 3.
Okay.
And then it'd be -4 to the second power plus 3. Or no, it would be 2 times -4.
Okay, so let's talk about this, right? Okay, so the order of operations tells me you got to do your exponent first. Okay, so Anna, the first thing I need to do is I need to do this -2 squared. Okay, well, what does a squared mean? It means I'm multiplying it by itself. Let me say that again. A squared means you're going to multiply the number by itself. So what you're doing is you're taking a -2, because that's what's in parentheses, and you're multiplying by a -2. All right, so you're taking a -2 and you're multiplying it by itself, which is a -2 also. So a negative times a negative, Anna, gives me a positive 4, right? Because 2 wrongs make a right in math. Okay, so a negative times a negative gives me a positive. All right, so now let's talk to me. I've got a 2 outside still, Anna. And then I took the -2 and I squared it and I got a positive 4. So 2 times positive 4 plus 3. All right, let's rock and roll, Anna.
Okay, that would be 8 plus 3, and that would be 11.
Okay, so let's write it as an ordered pair.
-2, 11.
Awesome. So let me say that again, guys. The first thing I need to do is I need to do my exponents, right? Okay, and the way I always do it is I always write whatever I'm squaring in parentheses so I don't screw it up. Because you're plugging in a -2, you got to square that whole thing, right? It's not just the 2 squared. It's the -2 squared. And that's totally different. Because a negative 2 squared gives me a positive 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. A negative times a negative is a positive. So then now I'm here. So now I've got 4, and then I've still got a 2 outside. So 4 times 2 is 8. You still got a plus 3 over here. So how did I get my ordered pair? This is my input. I changed the x to negative 2. So that's my input. That's my x value. And I get my output, which is a positive 11. Last one, number 4. Ryan, you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, Ryan, will you help me out with number 4?
I will try.
You know what? Me too, Ryan.
So F, whatchamacallit? F with the 0 thingy.
Yeah?
You replace the X in 5X, 0, so it's 5 times 0 minus 4.
Okay,
And 5 times,
let me stop you. What do these little bars mean?
oh, I have no idea.
Do you remember?
I think they were like parentheses.
Okay, it's absolute value. All right, so well, that's fine. We'll talk about it later. All right, here we go.
And then 5 times 0 is 0, so then it's just 0 minus 4. Which will end up as 4.
How did it end up as 4?
Because 0 does nothing.
Okay, but if you got $0, Ryan, and then you subtract 4, you don't have $4.
Negative 4.
Okay, all right. So now it's f of 0 equals the absolute value of negative 4. Okay, so now what do the absolute value bars mean? The absolute value is your distance from 0. So how far away is negative 4 from 0, Ryan?
4.
Yeah, so you were right in what you said originally, because the absolute value of negative 4 is back to a positive 4. Okay, so all we're doing is we're going to, if negative, we're going to make it positive. That's all absolute value does. So f of 0 equals 4. All right, so one more thing, Ryan. What's my coordinate? What's my ordered pair?
Sorry, I'm having a little brain issue right now.
It's all right. I have
Give me a second.
a brain issue every day, Ryan. So it ain't a big deal. It's all right.
It's 0 and then negative 4.
0 and what?
I mean 4.
Yeah, positive 4. Good. Good. Okay, so again, that absolute value made it a positive because it's a distance away from 0. Right? Distance away from 0. All right, so easy breezy, right? All I'm doing is I'm taking the x value and plugging it in. Let's do a couple more. So we're going to take a graph and we're going to find our domain or our range. Again, all we're doing is we're finding points on our function. All we're doing is we're finding points on our function. All right, so we have a function here. This is a weird function. Okay, you haven't seen anything like this. No big deal. But I want you to evaluate this function at these points when x is negative 6 and when x is negative 4 and when x is 0 and when x is 9. Okay, well, all you're going to do is you're going to look at your graph, go over to the x value, and then find the y value at that point. Because again, this is the x value. What we get is the output. What we get is the y value. So the first one, f of negative 6, well, let's go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's find the point where x is negative 6. So we'll go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that point right there is negative 6, positive 7. Okay, so then what's the answer? Well, I got my input, I plugged in negative 6, and I get my output. So there you go. And again, I could write that as an ordered pair if I want to. There it is right there. Negative 6, positive 7. Same thing. Negative 4, all I'm doing is I'm going to go over to where x is negative 4. Go over 1, 2, 3, 4. Find the y value. Well, there it is. The point negative 4, 0. So 0 is my answer. 0 is my dependent value. 0 is my y. Dara, you there?
Yes, sir.
All right, Dara, give me number 7. What's f of 0?
Is it -2?
Negative 2. How'd you get that?
I've counted the x values all the way to 0, and I figured out 4.
Okay, yeah. So right here, here's the origin 0, 0. Well, I don't have to go anywhere because the x value is 0, so go down to 2. Your y value is a negative 2. Perfect. Ilm, hop on.
I got 0.
You got 0 for f of 9?
Yeah.
Perfect. There's your point. Go over to 9. There it is. All right, so then here we go. I want to evaluate the domain. Okay, I want to evaluate when I'm given the domain. So what's the range when I have a set domain? Well, guess what? It's the same thing, right? All I've been doing is plugging in an x value and getting a y value. I'm going to do the exact same thing. All right, so Taylor, you there?
Yes.
How's your water?
It's good.
Good? I'm going to drink mine in a second when we get done with class. All right, Taylor, so help me out with number 9, right? So I'm going to plug in my domain. So I'm going to plug in -2.
-2.
So let's...
Put J -2 equals -2 or -4 -2 plus 1.
Perfect. Okay, so again, I want you writing it like this, guys. I want you writing it like this because this is reminding you that you're plugging in your x value of -2, and you're going to get your dependent value or your y value or your output. All right, so here we go. Thank you. Come on, Ted.
Yeah. I'm gonna put. Oh, okay. I'm gonna put -4 times -2, which is +8
Okay, and then
plus 1.
which is
9.
so my range is 9. All right, we'll do the same thing with 0. So I've got j of 0 equals -4 times 0 plus 1. So Taylor, what's a -4 times 0?
0.
Then what's plus 1?
1.
And then last but not least, I'm going to plug in 3. So j of 3
So we -12 plus -13.
Okay, so you got -12, but then you got plus 1. So you owe somebody $12.
Or -11.
Yeah, -11.
Okay.
-11. Good. Samia, you there?
Yes, sir.
Samia, can you help me out with number 10?
Oh yeah, of course. Okay. H of -4
Awesome.
equals 4 squared.
So I'm going to write it like this. Okay, Samia, I've got a negative outside of that x. And I'm plugging in a -4 for x. So I'm going to write a negative, parentheses, -4 squared. Okay, and that's how I write it to keep me straight with my signs. Okay, so I've got a -4 squared, Samia. What's that?
You do -4 squared, which is -16.
Okay, so...
That's what you want for 16.
Okay, exactly. You're right, it's positive 16. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. Don't just type it in your calculator. Don't just type it in your phone. Because if you type in your calculator or your phone, -4 squared, you get a -16. It is not -16. -4 squared is a positive 16. That's why I'm writing parentheses like this. If you type this in your calculator, you get a positive 16. Because again, what does the squared mean? The squared means it's that multiplied by itself. So you're taking a -4 and you're multiplying it by itself. -4 times -4, 2 wrongs make a right. So 2 wrongs give me a positive. Okay, so now I'm at a positive 16 when I square this in the parentheses. So I've got a, but guess what? Still got a negative outside that parentheses. So it goes back to being a -16.
And then the second one
it would be h of negative 2 equals negative with the parentheses and then the 2 negative 2 in the parentheses and then squared.
Perfect.
So that would be 4 positive, but then with the negative outside it'd be negative 4.
Great explanation. And then one more.
For the last one, it would be h of negative 1 equals negative parentheses negative 1 squared, and then that'd be negative 1, and so that negative 1.
Negative 1. Awesome. Awesome. Easy breezy, guys. Easy breezy. Sorry, Taylor, I just knocked over my water bottle. Luckily, I had the cap on, so don't freak out on me. Easy breezy. All right. That's where I want to stop at on our notes.